Dustin, it's really good to see you. I'm excited about today's topic, a smart alternative to cash. I feel like a lot of savers are sitting in cash right now for many reasons, but today we're going to talk about principal protected notes. This is a good option for savers, right? What problem does it solve?
Yeah, well, there are really two big worries I hear from both savers and investors right
Yeah.
now, and they're really right to be conscious of these two concerns. The first is inflation.
Mm,
So when you talk about savers, the good news is you can earn a yield, you can earn interest on cash. Now today it hasn't been that way for some time. But the bad news is, in my area, I go into the grocery store and a carton of eggs now costs $6 or $7 a dozen.
right.
And if you look at something like even a used car, at minimum today, that's going to cost $5,000 more than it did a couple of years ago, just your
Hmm.
average used car. So
Hmm.
for a saver, when we look at something like cash, yeah, we can earn a yield or we can earn interest on cash, but all of that interest and then some today is essentially going to be lost to inflation. It's a guaranteed way to go backwards. Then on the other hand, you've got stock market volatility.
Right.
Um, that's another big concern with investors and savers. When we look at last year, we had double-digit drawdowns not only in stocks, also in bonds. And in the short term, nobody knows where markets are going to go. So some people, they're looking at the drawdowns, the losses we've had in markets, and they're saying, well, if I don't get in the market, if I don't put some money to work, I'm going to miss the recovery. And that's a valid concern. You've got other people that are saying, well, if I do put some money to work, I might lose it to stock market losses. That's also a valid concern.
Hmm.
So what a principal protected note allows us to do for our clients is to give them some exposure to participate in some of the positive returns in a stock market index like the S&P 500 with none of the exposure to losses. So, it really helps a lot of investors and savers solve those two issues. It's going to help us get the potential to earn returns that are more competitive with inflation while not exposing ourselves to the risk that comes along with equities.
Hmm. And one of the things I value about talking this through with you, Dustin, is not a lot of people know about structured notes, and neither are they widely available.
Right, right. Haven't been widely available, haven't been widely known to individual investors. These are offered through large banks. These are institutional investments. This isn't something that you're going to see offered inside your 401k. And even though they're offered by large banks, you can't go walk into your local retail bank branch and buy one of these. These institutional investments are custom investments. They're made available to investors and savers through investment advisors.
Hmm.
So our investment team, they go out in the marketplace. They work with the large banks on Wall Street each month to negotiate custom notes for our clients with custom terms.
Hmm. And just to remind everybody who's watching, we did do a deeper dive on income notes in another video, which you have on your video library. People should go look at. And so again, we're hitting on principal protected today. How do they work? How do the principal protected notes work, Dustin?
Yeah, so that note is really a combination of two components. The issuer, they're going to buy a discount bond in an effort to guarantee your principal at maturity. That's the purpose of the bond. And then they're also going to take some of those investment dollars and they're going to purchase options, call options on an index, for example, like the S&P 500.
Hmm.
And at maturity, if at the maturity of that note, if that index has had positive gains, those options are what allow you to participate in some of those gains,
Hmm.
but do it in a way where your principal's still protected.
Hmm. And so what if somebody who is interested in this, what do they need to know about the terms?
Yeah. So the first thing you need to know very simply is who the issuer is. I mentioned these are issued by large banks. So we've negotiated structured notes with issuers like Citibank, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, and others. The next thing you want to understand is the term. And when I mention term here, I'm talking about the maturity. So the way these function, the returns on these, all that's guaranteed at maturity on these notes. And when we're talking about principal protected notes, typically the notes we've been using with clients lately They're available in terms anywhere from 13 months to 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing we want to understand is what's the return profile. And that's very simple when it comes to these principal protected notes. These notes are going to track a market index like the S&P 500. The worst case scenario at maturity, when your note matures, you get full principal back. But if there's some positive gain in that index, that market index, in addition to the return of your principal, you'll participate in some of those gains up to a cap.
Mm-hmm.
And now those caps vary from note to note. But the one thing I would mention is, typically those caps are going to provide substantially more return potential than cash and a lot of bonds in many cases.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that you want to be conscious of is, what are the risks? In this case, your principal is guaranteed. You do, however, have some credit risk, not unlike most bonds. So this isn't something that's guaranteed by the FDIC. It's guaranteed by the issuer. So generally speaking, if that large bank, that issuer, if they're still solvent, still in business when your note matures, then your terms are guaranteed by that institution.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we try to do to mitigate that market risk is purchase these notes from large financial institutions that right now are very well capitalized.
Right, right. Well, Dustin, I'm glad that we had a chance to talk this through today because it is a very timely topic and a really interesting strategy. If somebody would like to talk to you more, if they have some lazy money sitting around and maybe they feel uncomfortable or anxious about the market, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, they can give me a call or a text to 830-476-2505, or they can reach out to book a free chat on the website, longlivemymoney.com.
All right. Dustin, thank you.
Thanks, Erin.